Good morning, Ranchview, and welcome to day 11 of Elenum Music Online. Today's video is going to be pretty short and sweet. Like I said, we're doing our theory project over 2 days, so today is going to be a pretty simple video. Shout outs to start today go to Jilly, whose bass thinks that it's Christmas, and to Cole, who got me started on learning how to do drums on Noteflight. So we're going to get some drum set stuff going for those of you interested today. Sectionals and office hours for today. Office hours will be from 10:45 to 11 this morning. Then sectionals are for band. So we're going to do 11:30 will be flute, oboe, and clarinet. 11:50 will be saxophones and low reeds. 12:10 will be all brass instruments. Today's goal is, as always, every day practice for 15 to 30 minutes on your pops music and journal. Make sure you're checking in on what you wrote for yesterday's reflection. Use that as your starting point going forward so that you always have an intentional goal and you know what you're working towards. Let me know if you have questions. If you haven't been able to make it to sectionals, like I said, I'm trying to rotate those times around so that you can get to one of those. But if you're unable to make it to sectionals and you're stuck on a rhythm or you're stuck on entrances, please let me know. I'm happy to help with those as best I can. But sectionals really are the best way to get help there. That's when you can hear your part played, you can hear how it all fits in with other instruments. So try and come to those as much as you can. In our Noteflight project, today we are just continuing the exploding music that we started yesterday. So use yesterday's video as your guide, taking that piano part and exploding it into your duet. Some of you have asked, what if I started with one that's already been written for other instruments? That's fine, the explosion's already happened. Other people asked, what if I want to do more than 2 instruments? Can I also do a third or a fourth or a fifth? Totally fine. That's going above and beyond. The requirement is 2 instruments. The requirement is 16 measures. Anything beyond that, you're just taking it up a notch, and that's fine. So nothing new on Noteflight for today. However, there were a lot of questions, and I want to answer those. So if you feel like you're in a pretty good place as far as Noteflight and your duet is going, then you can stop this video now. If you want to stick around for some of the questions that were asked yesterday and their answers, I'm going to be talking about ties versus slurs. I'm going to be talking about allowing access so that I can see your scores. I'm going to be talking about writing drum parts. I'm going to be talking about adding lyrics for those of you who are doing vocals. So all of that is going to be in this next section, so feel free to stick around for that. The main thing that I want everyone to know about Noteflight is you have to hit save. Don't forget to hit save. If you don't put that up on the top, there's like a little cloud with an up arrow. If you don't hit that save button and you close your window, when you come back to it, all the work you did is gone. You have to save. So please don't forget that. In Classroom, if I leave you feedback and say, please do this, then you have to resubmit it. If I say, I couldn't see it, please go in and change these settings, you have to resubmit it. If I say, great, but you might want to try this, it's incomplete, you have to resubmit it. If you don't resubmit in Google Classroom, then I don't know you're done. So make sure that you're always hitting resubmit, you're always hitting save, and as long as you do that, you're going to be in good shape. So moving on to tips and tricks, answers to yesterday's questions, we're going to take it over to the computer. If you feel like you're in a good place and you just need to practice today, then I'll see you tomorrow. All right, so some of the questions that I received yesterday had to do with note input and had to do with some of the logistics like saving and sharing. So first thing I want to take you to is the difference between ties and slurs. So if you see in my Green Day arrangement that I've done, I have this little line here which connects them so that when you play it, it holds the note longer. There's a difference between that and a slur, which tells you to continue the playing without re-articulating. So either you continue the same word on a different note, or if you're an instrumentalist, you play without re-tonguing or re-bowing. So make sure when you're entering those, let's say, for example, here, I want those 2 C's to be held in a row rather than played or sung twice. That's where you need to have this tie button, which is in the duration menu. So you put your first C, you hit the tie, and you put your second C. Then in playback, it's just going to hold for the duration of those 2 notes. Now, what if you wanted to have a C and then a B, but you want them to be connected and smooth? That's where this slur option comes in. So that's in the articulation menu. So again, you hit that first note, you hit the slur option, and then you hit the second note, and it'll create that. Now the trick is that the symbol looks exactly the same, but the playback is totally different. So remember, if you want them to hold the same note for longer, use your tie option. And if you want them to be smooth and connected, use that slur option. And those are in the duration menu and the articulation menu. So that's a very important distinction between slurs and ties. Drum set. I had a question about adding a drum set part. So if you add your part in the same way that you did when you created your duets, and you really want to create a drum set part, in this unpitched percussion menu, you can hit drums standard. That's the set I would use, and hit OK. Now it's just going to be like a normal staff. If you click, you're going to have regular note heads that come up. You can put them anywhere you want. You can change the duration of them in the same way as before, just using that duration menu. So however you want it to look, you're going to set it up exactly like you would on a piano part. The difference is if you want it to be like, for example, a hi-hat. If you want to put a hi-hat part up here, this one gave me my X automatically. Let's say you want a symbol here. You hit that note, then in your note menu, and again, this is a menu many of you probably will not need to use, so it's probably in these 3 lines. Hit that note so the check mark comes up. In that note menu, you can change all of the different types to those percussion notation symbols. So if I want it to be a cross note head, you hit that. If I want it to be just a slash notation, you can hit that. If I want it to be a slash with a stem, you can hit that. These are all going to be the percussion notation options here. Now lastly, for percussion, we're very used to having multiple voices going on at a time. So you might have your cymbal across the top, your snare drum across that 3rd line, and your bass drum across the bottom. So I'm going to put that here in this 3rd measure. All right. So to give yourself the multiple drum options, you're going to hit upper voice, and I want that to be there on that line for the cymbal. So now I'm only editing the cymbal line, and I can put all 4 of those there, so I have my quarter note cymbal part. Now let's say I want to do the bass drum. Hit that lower voice option, and you can come in here and enter your bass drum part, however you want that to look. Alright, so that's how you're going to add your drum set part. The vast majority of you do not need to worry about that, but for those of you who play drum set or who want to add that part, that's going to be your way to do it. Create your drum part, hit upper voice, lower voice to create your cymbal versus your bass drum, or your cymbal versus your bass drum and your snare drum, and then changing the note heads to whatever shape you want them to be in that note menu. Alright, next question was about adding lyrics. So if you want to add lyrics, let's say this top part here is going to be my singer. All you have to do, there's a couple ways to do it. You hit that note, and then you hit the letter T on your keyboard. That's going to bring up the text menu, so I could say something like this, and then you hit the next note, is, next note, fun, whatever you want them to sing. So hitting T will bring up that text menu. Another way to do it, in this menu option again, you can hit text. This is going to bring up here all of these extra options. This is where you can put lyrics, which will go below the words. So let's say I wanted to start the same lyrics here. Click on that note, hit your lyrics button. The good thing about lyrics versus text is when you hit space, it will go to your next word. So for example, I can say is and then just hit space, and it moves right over to that next note. That's going to be your fastest way to input lyrics. Now, my last 2 things are extremely important, and that is the save button, and that is also how to share your score. So no matter what you do, anytime you do something, I'm going to add a note right here. When I feel like I've got this measure done, I hit save. This little cloud with an up arrow, if it is dark, if I add another note, you see how dark this is? That tells me that you have not saved your work. When you hit save, that'll go away. That means it's saved. If you leave this website without hitting save, you're going to come back and all of your work is gone, and you definitely don't want that. Lastly, as far as sharing your score, in this score settings option, score details, it'll bring all of this up. You see this share button right here? Click that little drop down. See, it says this score is not currently shared. Hit share score, and you can say, I want to share this with everyone. Everyone who has the link can view this score. I don't need commenting rights or editing rights. Just leave it as view. And then you can leave that checkbox blank if you don't want anyone else to be able to find it. If you click that, it'll show up in the search options like when you were searching for your starting score. So I would just leave that blank. That way the only people who can see it are the people you shared that link with. Hit next. You can skip this section for now. Hit save. And now when you send this link to me, I will have access to it. For some reason, there are a few of you who in the score details section have score details, cover art, and then sell. And this whole share section is missing. I am having a hard time figuring out why that's the case, so I have sent out a message to Noteflight, and I'm trying to figure out how to fix that. In the meantime, you can take a screenshot of your music. You can just wait until I can figure it out. Either way, remember there's no late penalties in my class right now. So we'll figure it out, and once I can get you to share that with me, then I can see it. But feel free to download a PDF and email it to me. You can just take a screenshot, whatever works. I believe that was all of the questions that I had on my list from yesterday. Hopefully that helped you guys with some of the stuff that you've been trying to figure out and you've been stuck with. Let me know if you have more questions, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.